Imagine a creature, right, that's just born from this cosmic egg in a void of total nothingness.
Oh, yeah.
And it creates time and space with just a single breath. Like, it sounds exactly like a lost scroll from some ancient civilization.
Right, totally.
Like something you'd study in a university theology class or something.
Yeah, but actually, it's just a piece of lore programmed into a little yellow cartridge you probably played on your Game Boy back in the late 90s.
Exactly. It's
It
wild.
really is the absolute definition of a cultural Trojan horse. I mean, we tend to think of mythology as something static.
Right, like carved in marble.
Yeah, carved in marble, set in the past. But we don't realize we are actively playing inside a living, breathing, mythological system right now.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're taking you on a custom-tailored journey through a massive stack of sources to uncover what is actually going on beneath the surface of the world's most profitable entertainment property.
It is a massive stack, yeah.
Seriously, we've got an academic master's thesis on folklore, a comprehensive breakdown of over 100 character arcs, and fully translated behind-the-scenes interviews from the original Japanese creators.
And our mission here is basically to prove to you that the Pokémon franchise is not just a children's game.
Far from it.
Right. We're going to look at how the creators built a literal digital pantheon, one that perfectly mirrors our very real, very modern anxieties.
Yeah, and we'll explore how the main character's journey completely subverts the traditional power fantasies we're so used to in gaming.
And finally, we'll uncover the secret, surprisingly wholesome history behind the franchise's most iconic villains.
I am so ready for this. We're going to help you synthesize all these diverse sources, and trust me, if you grew up playing these games or watching the show, the aha moments we have lined up are going to completely change how you view this cultural juggernaut.
Definitely.
So let's start at the absolute macro level. The gods and monsters.
Yeah, so the academic thesis we reviewed presents this really fascinating argument. It claims that the legendary and mythical Pokémon in this universe function exactly like ancient folklore.
Right.
But because this mythology was born in a modern era, it had to be updated. It's tailored for a world that's obsessed with science, technology, and environmentalism.
That makes a lot of sense.
Take the origin of the universe, for example. In this world, you have a creature named Arceus.
And according to the lore, Arceus is the alpha Pokémon.
Right.
It basically hatches from an egg in an empty void and creates the universe, which is, a classic ancient creation myth.
Totally. The cosmic egg bringing order to chaos.
Exactly. But then the franchise immediately pivots from that ancient mysticism to modern science with a creature named Mew.
And that pivot is crucial. I mean, Mew is introduced as the genetic ancestor of all Pokémon.
It literally contains the DNA of every known species, right?
Right, in its own cellular structure.
Yeah.
So instead of a static creator god molding life out of clay, Mew bridges the ancient creation myth with modern evolutionary biology.
Wow. It transforms the concept of divine creation into a narrative about genetic interconnectedness and DNA.
Okay, let's unpack this. Wait, so you're telling me that when humans in the game try to mess with that divine genetics and create Mewtwo, it isn't just a cool boss fight waiting at the end of a cave?
Not at all.
It's a literal manifestation of our anxiety about cloning and artificial intelligence.
Yes. What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy holds up when you look at the mechanics of the story.
Like Frankenstein.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mewtwo is essentially a modern-day Frankenstein's monster, but, with psychic blasts.
Right.
Scientists took Mew's DNA and weaponized it. They created this incredibly powerful artificial being. And what does Mewtwo do?
It rebels.
It rebels and asks that deeply existential question, what is my purpose? It rejects its human creators because it recognizes the moral instability of its own creation.
It's turning massive existential dread into a collectible creature. That is exactly the point of the thesis. By taking these terrifying modern fears like unregulated genetic engineering, rogue AI, and turning them into monsters you can catch in a little red and white sphere, the franchise domesticates our modern fears.
It's a way of dealing with it.
Right. It allows you, the player, to confront and contain the apocalypse in a way you simply can't do in the real world.
And that concept of domesticating fear, it gets even more explicit when we look at how the series handles the environment.
Absolutely.
Like the lore introduces Xerneas, known as the life Pokemon.
Yeah.
Its visual design pulls heavily from Celtic and Norse imagery of horned gods. Specifically, the majestic stag standing at the world tree.
Right. It has the power to revive entire forests and grant life.
But his counterpart is Yveltal, which is this massive, terrifying, apocalyptic raven that literally absorbs the life energy of everything around it when it dies.
But importantly, Yveltal isn't portrayed as traditionally evil in the source material. Yeah, the thesis compares this dynamic to ancient concepts of cosmic dissolution. Yveltal represents the inevitable, necessary decay in an ecological cycle.
Oh, I see.
Death and destruction are required to maintain the balance of the forest.
Wow. And then the franchise tackles the ultimate modern environmental fear with Eternatus.
Oh yeah, Eternatus?
This is a cosmic chaos dragon from the Galar region. Eternatus gives off this boundless radiation called Dynamax energy.
Right.
And the lore is entirely about human technological hubris. The corporate villains in the story try to harness this chaotic radioactive energy to solve an impending energy crisis.
And it results in a cataclysm called the Darkest Day.
Yeah.
Which is such a thinly veiled metaphor for our modern dread regarding nuclear power, technological overreach, and climate collapse.
It really is.
You have this ancient, terrifying force of nature, and instead of leaving it alone, the human characters try to extract it for fuel. It's a perfect emblem of how myth survives in a technological universe.
So we have this world filled with literal gods of death, psychic bioweapons, and radioactive dragons.
Right.
If you or I were dropped into that universe, we'd be terrified.
Oh, absolutely.
The logical assumption is that to survive, a human would have to become a ruthless conqueror.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings us to our second topic. How does a mortal actually navigate this world? Let's look at the protagonist of the anime for the last 25 years, Ash Ketchum.
Yeah, when you look at the comprehensive breakdown of Ash's journey across 2.5 decades, his methodology for interacting with this chaotic world is completely unique.
It really is.
Over the course of the show, he officially caught over 80 Pokémon, or, well, over 100 if you count temporary companions, and a very large herd of Tauros.
Right, all those Tauros.
Yeah, but he rarely catches them by asserting dominance. He isn't out there subjugating beasts to prove his strength.
He doesn't conquer. He rescues.
Exactly.
When you actually read through the character arcs, the sheer amount of trauma therapy this 10-year-old kid does is staggering.
It's unbelievable.
Let's talk about the fire-type starters in the show, because they have a notoriously rough time. Take Charmander.
Oh, the Charmander story.
Early in the series, Charmander is literally abandoned in the freezing rain by a cruel trainer named Damien, who just thought it was too weak.
Oh, right.
Ash saves it. Charmander eventually evolves into Charizard, but as a result of its past and its new power, it develops a massive rebellious ego.
It sleeps through battles.
Yeah, it completely ignores Ash's commands.
And the way Ash resolves that conflict is brilliant. He doesn't beat Charizard into submission to prove he's the alpha.
No, not at all.
He takes it to a place called the Cherisific Valley, a training ground for wild Charizards. And Ash realizes his Charizard is actually the weakest one there.
Right.
So he humbles himself. He tells Charizard he doesn't want a weak Pokemon and leaves it there to train, literally running away crying so his friend can get stronger without being held back.
It's like realizing you aren't the best coach for your star athlete anymore and having the humility to hand them over to someone who is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have Chimchar. Oh man, the Chimchar arc is heavy.
Oh, it is. Very heavy.
Chimchar was previously owned by Ash's polar opposite, this hyper-competitive rival named Paul, who treats his team like disposable tools.
It's awful.
Paul physically and emotionally abuses Chimchar and eventually just throws it away for being weak. So Ash takes Chimchar in.
And Chimchar has this ability called Blaze, which essentially triggers a massive surge of firepower when it's in danger.
Right.
But because of Paul's abuse, that ability is tied entirely to trauma. When Chimchar's Blaze activates, it goes on a fiery, out-of-control rampage.
It's essentially having a panic attack.
Exactly.
And how does Ash handle it? He doesn't use a Pokeball to forcibly recall it and lock it away.
No.
He physically runs into the flames and hugs the Pokemon to calm it down. He literally embraces the trauma.
It's such a powerful moment.
And eventually that same Chimchar fully evolves into Infernoth and defeats Paul's entire team in this beautifully poetic victory.
It's a recurring theme in his journey. His Gengar was abandoned by a previous trainer and thought it was cursed, spending years guarding a laboratory in isolation. His Tepig was tied to a post and left to starve. Ash takes all of them in. He creates a safe space for them to heal.
But it's not just the tragic, traumatized ones either. He also embraces the absolute weirdos.
Oh, yeah.
He catches a Krabby just by poking it with a stick on a beach. He has a Snorlax that hilariously boasts a 100% win rate in major battles, but only when Ash can manage to physically wake it up.
Right, which is always a struggle.
Yeah. He even accidentally helps create Dracovish, which is this terrifyingly goofy, mismatched, resurrected fossil that makes absolutely no biological sense.
The Escapist article we reviewed mapped out where all these characters are now that Ash's journey has ended.
Oh, yeah.
Almost all of them live happily together at Professor Oak's lab in his hometown or with Professor Cuckoo in another region. They aren't sitting in a digital storage box. They aren't tools.
Here's where it gets really interesting, If we look at a traditional mythic hero, someone like Hercules, their job is to capture beasts, to prove their dominance over nature. But Ash is operating entirely differently. He's a magical foster parent. He's taking in the rejects, the traumatized, the weirdos, and building a family.
And if we look at why that matters for you, the viewer, especially in a world filled with literal gods and apocalyptic dragons like we discussed with the digital pantheon.
Right.
Ash's true power isn't divine strength. It's radical empathy. He proves that the way to navigate a chaotic, overwhelming universe isn't through subjugation or force, but through connection and rehabilitation.
Okay, so if Ash represents radical empathy and order, a proper myth needs a chaotic counterbalance to challenge him, right?
Definitely.
But instead of the world-ending monsters like Eternatus showing up every week, Ash's daily dose of chaos comes from Team Rocket.
Yes, the iconic trio of Jesse, James, and a talking mouth.
The best.
According to the folklore thesis, they perfectly fulfill the ancient trickster archetype.
Interesting.
Think of the Pokémon Hoopa in this franchise, a mythical creature who bends space through its golden rings just to cause mischief and disrupt the natural order. Team Rocket operates on that exact same disruptive boundary-crossing frequency, just on a human scale.
And the translated behind-the-scenes interviews reveal so much about why they are the way they are.
They really do.
The original head writer of the anime, Takeshi Shudo, wrote extensively on his blog about his specific vision for them. Early on, critics assumed they were just cheap rip-offs of the bumbling villains from an old 70s anime called Time Boken.
Right, yeah.
But Shudo explicitly rejected that comparison. He argued that those older characters were pathetic losers who just whined when their boss punished them.
Whereas Team Rocket...
Right. Team Rocket, on the other hand, they never view themselves as losers. They are fiercely confident in their own bizarre existence, no matter how many times they fail.
And that confidence was heavily shaped by a genuine rebellion from their Japanese voice actors.
Oh, this part is amazing.
Yeah, Megumi Hayashibara voices Jesse, Shinichiro Miki voices James, and Inuko Inuyama voices Meowth. They didn't just read the lines, they fundamentally altered the show's DNA. Now, early in the production, the writers had Jesse physically abusing James and Meowth whenever they failed, like standard, cheap cartoon slapstick.
Yeah, you see that all the time.
But Hayashibara actually went to the writers and demanded they stop having Jessie hit her teammates. She wanted to emphasize their genuine love and support for one another as a found family.
Which is huge for a 90s cartoon.
It really is.
And their visual designs reflect this total rejection of normal societal boundaries.
Right.
Take James's famous cross-dressing moments.
Right.
The history there is hilarious. It actually started because the animators designed this elaborate Marie Antoinette-style dress inspired by the classic anime Rose of Versailles, specifically for Jessie.
Okay.
But when they drew it, they realized it didn't look quite right on her. So they just shrugged, gave the dress to James instead, and it totally worked. It became an iconic, recurring part of his character.
I love that. And even Meowth's ability to speak isn't just a random cartoon gag thrown in for laughs.
Right. There's lore there.
Yeah. Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokémon, had a highly specific internal intelligence chart for all the creatures when he was designing the world.
A literal chart.
A literal chart. And Meowth was placed high enough on that chart to logically be capable of learning human speech. And the lore explains that he endured agonizing pain to teach himself to walk upright and talk, all just to impress someone.
Wow.
It shows incredible, stubborn determination.
But the absolute peak of their found family dynamic, the moment that proves what they're really about, is found in an obscure 1998 Japanese radio drama called White Tomorrow Team Rocket.
Oh, this is such a deep cut.
It's incredible. They have this young trainee named Mondo who totally idolizes them. At one point, a mission goes horribly wrong, and in the confusion, they accidentally trade Meowth to Mondo in exchange for a Ditto.
And Meowth is furious, understandably, feeling totally betrayed by his friend.
Oh, yeah, big time. But then, when Mondo gets attacked by a swarm of angry Beedrill, Meowth immediately turns around and runs straight into danger to save him. And at the exact same time, Jesse and James abandon their mission and fiercely fight their way back to reunite with Meowth.
Because at the end of the day, they genuinely care for each other more than they care about stealing Pikachu or pleasing their boss.
So what does this all mean? Wait, so you're telling me the main villains of this massive multi-billion-dollar franchise are actually the most emotionally supportive, body-positive found family in the entire show?
That is exactly what the sources are pointing to. It's entirely subversive.
That is wild.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes perfect sense structurally for the mythology. Team Rocket's undying resilience and mutual support make them the perfect mythic foils to Ash.
Oh, I see it.
Think about it. Ash builds a family of rescued, traumatized Pokémon. Team Rocket is a family of rescued, traumatized human outcasts.
Right.
They fail constantly. Every single episode, they blast off into the sky in defeat. But their absolute refusal to be defined by their failures is a profound psychological lesson hidden inside a Saturday morning cartoon.
It really is a masterclass in resilience. I mean, they lose every single day of their lives, but they wake up the next morning, brush themselves off, recite their motto with absolute pride, and try again.
It's inspiring in a weird way.
It totally is. Well, we've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We've taken you through a digital pantheon of gods that mirror our very real modern anxieties about environmental collapse, unregulated science, and runaway technology.
Right.
We followed a young hero who acts less like a conquering video game warrior and more like a trauma therapist for abandoned, abused monsters.
And we unpacked a trio of trickster villains who, despite their title as the bad guys, teach us about unwavering resilience and unconditional love.
Exactly.
And for you, the listener, the reason all of this source material matters is that we live in a secular digital age. We are constantly dealing with information overload, climate anxiety, and existential dread.
Yeah, every day.
Franchises like this aren't just disposable entertainment. They are the modern campfires. They are the shared global spaces where we collectively process our fears, negotiate our morality, and figure out our place in the world.
Which leaves you with something to really mull over.
Yeah.
After a historic run, Ash Ketchum's 25-year journey